with their bikes. Okay, look at our bikes is being wrecked. Now, within the social structure, we can structure it and build hierarchy where the society now has to be stratified. We are no longer equal. It's not wrong. It's not a thing. It wasn't a bad thing. But now, the issue that came with this was greed. You realize someone that could not manage 10 bikes went and took 100 bikes. Someone could manage 300 bikes, took them. And then somebody went and was after 10 bikes, but the bikes, they were finished. And then what happened? They repaired the bikes and then they had to put them back on the streets at a rate. Don't forget, these bikes are no longer owned by the state. Then there was social structure, that's a class and hierarchy. Then it put Europe into the turbulence, which talking about the great Nelson Mandela. Mandela's poverty is made. Poverty is a man-made phenomenon. If mankind wants to eradicate poverty tomorrow, you'll be gone. I watched the TV in Britain as they asking to donate, and the Americans produce a Chinook helicopter. One is $60 million. And America produces 4,000 a year.
Okay.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking? What's the cost of sending a shot in space? They will tell you $430 billion. That can end poverty. Half that will end poverty. Easy. So socialism is a context where we are so happy and comfortable to see others suffer. We've misplaced our priority. Look at India. India is India country with the highest homelessness in the world. They've got a nuclear weapon. If they tell you the cost of producing one nuclear weapon is staggering. This is money that will build homes, will build houses for everyone in India, and there will be housing boom. Look at Russia. Struggle with food production. They have to import wheat, have to import rice from China, Taiwan, and Bahrain. Russia's got the latest, the most dangerous, sophisticated weapons. It's human greed, this social class and this social structure. Boundary span. What is your enemy doing? This person might attack me. So let me be ready. Let me be prepared in case. So we Africans, we need to eradicate that mentality. We need to go back to our old ways. Remember, Justin was talking about trade barter, where you take gold and you get salt in return. You take oil, you get meat in return. Let's keep it civil. Let's look after each other. That is the social context of Africans. Let's forget about governors. Let's forget about the ministers. The system place might be so corrupt. The next minister, the next governor inherits that.
Okay. Thank you
so
very
we
much.
Keep it very, very simple. We keep it very, very simple. We look into our ministry, and then in that context, we'll be able to look after each other. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
I will listen from other members. Thank you very much, guys.
But you know that we have. Thank you so much. You know we have other panelists and we have other people that will have also something to say. So we've been struggling to get our Prof back online. Prof, are you there?
I am there. I'm online now. I've been having instability network.
So we have defined. Yeah. So we have defined socialism. We have talked about socialism, the differences between socialism and communism. So let us come now to our topic proper, and which we're talking about you want to understanding socialism now from the African context. So according to you, what is socialism from the African context?
Actually, talking about socialism from the African context, I want to go back to actually make us understand that the idea of socialism is an African thing. Socialism is an African thing in the sense that when you want to go back into the very history of Africa, getting deep, you discover that The African people believe in living in communities and believe in equal distribution of exactly what they possess, and being able to take care of those who are in lack to an extent where it's, you see the person who actually like is a visitor to the community ending up being part of the community and living as if he was part of the community, lacking nothing. And this is a concept that was actually developed from the Ubuntu concept, which is a philosophy that guides the African people. I am because you are. You see, this particular concept guides the foundation of the African people. And that's a philosophy that we are supposed to use in actually defining, talking about defining socialism from the African context. You see, the African people are a group of people who are social by nature. And I'll be sincere with you, that's the way humanity is supposed to be. Humanity is supposed to be essentially social. But as a result of the fact that humanity in other continents actually have been infested by greed for ownership of things, has created the the difference we have today in the world. But I want to say if Africa is supposed to actually excel, then it needs to go back to the base from where our ancestors actually strived from. You see, because the fact that Europeans came to Africa and couldn't find poor people in Africa is based on the fact that our fathers, our ancestors understood the importance of living together and sharing what they had as a community and being able to equally distribute it. The equal distribution does not necessarily mean that some people didn't have more than others. It's simply the fact that they could take care for one another. And you always hear this, I like this particular African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. That is something that we build. Those are philosophies that actually guide the African people. It takes a village to raise a child. It doesn't take an individual. An individual who feels like he owns everything ends up as an oppressor. So we don't expect that we should run our societies like Europeans are doing theirs. We don't need oppressors to actually run our continent. I am very, very pleased that yesterday the headquarters of the African Free Trade African Continental Free Trade Area was office. The main office was launched yesterday. That is a means through which this particular idea of socialism, of Ubuntu, of it takes a village to raise a child can actually be realized, where we decide to say, okay, we have one basket as Africa, and this is the center from where we distribute. Then we say, okay, there are no more boundaries. We work together. There is no difference between one another. We work as a team. When that becomes the target, when that becomes the issue on the ground, then we will realize a lot faster. So just to pin on that point, I want to practically say the problem that we have today in Africa is simply the fact that we do not, we have been forced to believe in capitalism as a means of economic, should I use the word economic policy? We have been made to believe in that. And we have been holding up to that. And that is the reason why the African people are struggling, because it is not a part and parcel of them to live like that. African people don't believe in living individuals running the society more than others. We believe that if it is supposed to be a monarchy, then we have a group of persons who are counselors, but everybody runs his life as we run our life together. When I say everybody runs his life, it means that we know that each and every one is part and parcel of the entire society. So I am using examples to actually come back to give you an understanding of exactly what we hold and believe that socialism means to the African people. I cited the Ubuntu philosophy. If you look at the Ubuntu philosophy, you discover that it is built from the base of love. It is built from a base of community living, where I am the keeper of you and you are my keeper. We are keepers of one another. We live for one another. I don't own my life, you don't own your life. We all own our lives and we run our lives together as a community. You see, in this aspect, what comes in as food is distributed. No particular individual actually owns all of the village and gives part to some persons. Everybody owns a part of the village. You see, today in Africa, we have gotten to a state where lands have been seized from their owners and given to particular individuals who are actually controlling it. And that is where a lot of problems are actually coming into Africa, the African states. Africa is a continent where individuals actually never claim ownership of lands, but the belief that the land is of the gods, and since the fount, or say the chief, or say the king, is the representative of God, he is the actual caretaker of the land, but each individual equally runs a piece of land from where he can feed his family, as well as take care of his community, as well as take care of the palace. That is how it used to be. So when you go back to that and you come again to look at the present situation where individuals have actually claimed ownership, and you will look at it, I want to quote Cameroon as one of the examples where they believe that it is a state that owns the land. And when you need a piece of land, you need to buy it, and then the government gives you a copy of land certificate, implying that you don't own a land certificate. In Cameroon, it's a government that owns it. And it is possible for the government to take it back from you. That's socialism. The government runs the entire land, but you as an individual, if you want to have a piece of that land, they give you the piece of land and give you a certificate, just a copy of it. They don't give you the original because they believe that the state owns the land. That is how it used to be, where kingdoms were run, the belief that the entire kingdom is the king's domain. And since it is the king's domain, land everywhere is owned by the king. And this king gives the land to the occupants, who as individuals work to feed themselves and take care of their society, as well as take care of the palace. That is a kind of paying taxes. But you see today, capitalism has come in and actually made people to believe that they are supposed to be owners. Did you get that? They are supposed to be owners of a piece of land. And some people want to own more land than others. And once that happens, they become oppressors of those who own nothing. Some own great pieces of land while others don't own. And that is the kind of economic policy that is foreign to the African people. So when you ask me what is my understanding of socialism from the African context, I will tell you socialism from the African context is such a context where we as individuals generally own everything, but we have a means of working together, but sharing, let's say, taking a part which I can use to run that society with through what I cultivate from there. That not only being on cultivation or say agriculture, it has to also do with politics. In the political aspect of it, we look at socialism not being as an issue where an individual runs the nation. It is a collective group of people who run the nation, but this collective group of people are answerable to the entire community. So with that as the system of socialism that the African people believe in, life gets easier and poverty is actually eliminated from the society. Why? Because everybody owns what is there, and nobody owns everything.
Yeah, Prof. In connection to what you said, I was going to ask you the benefits of socialism to the African community, but I see that you've already started. So, can you continue with the benefits? How can Africa benefit from socialism?
Okay, asking me how Africa can benefit from
century.
socialism, I want to begin by saying that Africa benefits a lot from socialism. Why? Because I want to take us a little back into history. Remember, I read a paper one time, and where a British lord, actually after having visited Africa as a continent, he went back to Britain, and he was to give report to the parliament. When he was talking in front of the parliament, he told them that he has not seen any.
Macaulay.
Yes, that's Macaulay. He said he's not seen any nation in the world where there is no beggar, there is no beggar. That's already insinuating there's no poverty. Secondly, he has not seen any society in the world where, in fact, the people are in peace. And also, we have another explorer, was a Moroccan, an Arabian who used to live in Morocco in the around the 15th, 16th centuries. He wrote something. And when he wrote in his journal, he said, the way in which these people live, there is no beggar, there is no poverty. So in describing the way the African people live, you can deduce from his declarations that his understanding about the state of living in Africa is completely different from that in Europe, where nobody is living in poverty, no beggar in the streets, on the streets, nothing like that, because everybody actually owns a piece of the land. So the benefit is that we share equally what is generally ours. So everybody shares in what is for the entire nation. It is not something that is given that the government owns alone. No, the government owns it as well as we own it, because the government is us now. So we actually understand it from that particular direction, that the government is all of us, though we have some individuals who are running things for us. Because you see, if we truly understand what social contract actually means, you discover that sovereignty lies with the people. And when the people actually, because they want protection, they decide to say, okay, we want to give a part of our sovereign rights to an individual who will use that sovereign right as a means to protect us and to protect our properties. That they elect somebody who sits in power. That person has been empowered by the people. And so this particular individual that has been empowered through the social contract, or say by the sovereign authority of the entire population, goes now to work for the people. He's not working for himself. So you don't claim that you own the country, like I saw Mobutu actually did in a particular period of time in the Congo, in the former Zaire, and like you see presently, other presidents are actually doing. You see a lot of presidents in Africa ascend power and they want to own it. They want to own power. Like, for example, in Cameroon, where we have a president who has been in power for over 38 years as a president. The reason is because he sees it as his personal property. But that is not the way it is. That is breach of social contract. And if we understood that he had breached social contract, the sovereign people have the right to take back what was given to him, to actually, the mandate that was given to him to actually use in safeguarding the entire country. And you see, that benefit is being stolen by some individuals through greed. That is what is causing so much trouble in Africa. I know I want to be sincere that is something that was introduced by Europeans and by the colonizers, slave masters who came to Africa. They introduced those kind of leadership strategy. And I want to quote my president. I remember when the president came to power in 1985, he wrote a book, Communal Liberalism, and introduced to the society. It's all about socialism. In that book, he explained how his vision is going to be run and how the entire nation is going to grow from an agrarian community to become what it's supposed to become. But till today, as we are talking, none of those lofty and great ideas that were put in that book had been accomplished, because he has a colonial master. He has a master who is looking over him. That is France, and dictating to him what he should do. And as a result of that, an individual stays in power and the people are suffering instead of enjoying the good of the land and that sovereign authority that they have. That is what is happening in most African countries. I want to quote Idris Deby of Chad. I remember some few years ago, he openly spoke on TV that he wanted to descend from power. His turn had come. He wanted to leave power, but France insisted that he must stay in power. So he's not ruling because he wants to. He's being dictated upon to stay in power. And that is what is happening. You cannot imagine that these colonial masters, when they wanted to give independence to our fathers, they had to force some of them to sign some accords that do not actually give them authority and right over their nation. So they do not have, or let's say the African nations do not actually have independence politically and economically, because they are being controlled politically and economically by these foreigners. And as a result of that, even with the ideas, because I will be sincere with you, when you read Communal Liberalism by Mr. Bia, you realize that that book is all about socialism and how to make the continent, I said, precisely starting from Cameroon and the other nations to actually rise. And that is where we have a problem. France is still having a lot of influence over these leaders. So at times they cannot implement these ideas that we have. So I know you asked me, Blandine, that what is the benefit? The benefit of socialism to the African people is that they will live a life of freedom. They'll actually live freely, and they'll actually be able to reach out into their potentials to make sure their communities actually grow. But at this particular moment, they are being suppressed. They are living a life of suppression. The African people are not enjoying freedom because the white men, the Caucasians, are still influencing their lives through those whom are sitting in power. And so even when we have good ideas, even when they have good ideas that they want to implement, it becomes difficult to implement these ideas because they are being dictated upon. And I'll be sincere to let you understand that the only way for Africa to actually rise up and implement this social system of leadership that permits everybody to be in control of his life, as well as the entire community being under the control of those that have been elected, where we equally enjoy what is provided for us by nature, we would need to first of all, make sure that these external influencers break off with us. And that is something that we need to strategically take time to deal with, because if that is not dealt with, it becomes practically difficult for the African people to be liberated. And so we do not want that to be the way that things are run in our continent. So we are actually looking for strategies to actually suggest to some of these leaders who can work with us so that the continent can be liberated. I started earlier and I said I'm actually glad with the move that is happening presently, where the free trade zone is actually being established, signed by 44 nations already out of the 55. So 44 nations have actually signed the accord to actually create that Africa's continental free trade area. When that is established, because it will go functional as from December, I believe that that will be a means through which the people of Africa will start interacting with one another and permitting the goods that we have to be sold with one another. And like Justin said from the start, when he cited the situation of trade by barter, where a tribe will go to sell to another tribe what they have. We need to get back to the state where we do exchange from a position of, okay, this is what we have. We bring it to these people, and we collect from there without visas. We are not being limited by visas, and that becomes a very, very substantial position that will give Africa an opportunity to accept, or say, to come out of this bondage that it has been in for a very long period of time. I am sorry, because I am taking your question, I'm taking you out of your question. I'm actually saying some things that you didn't ask me to say. I'm getting there because I believe that it fits in context with what we are discussing, except you see it, you don't deem it necessary. But I believe that is very, very important for our advancement, because I'll be sincere with you, Africa can only become Africa when we are together, not when we are divided. The state of things right now in Africa does not suit the context in which we are talking about. We are living in a capitalist system that was introduced. So socialism is not all about government control of production as it is defined by the Caucasians. It is supposed to be defined differently by African people. As I said, a system where the community actually equally shares in the good of the land, though controlled as well by those that they have put in position, because there's need for the checks and balances. If not, we'll end up having a lot of trouble. So there's need for those checks and balances put in place in order to be able to run an effective community and society. So the African people must go back to the place where they can best enjoy what they own, they have. So it becomes a communal life, Blanding. It is not a life of an individual running, it's communal. It's a community that is running the entire thing. We own our lives and we run it together. That is how it's supposed to be, and it brings a lot of benefits, because nobody will be looking at what another person owns, because what you own, I can exchange what I own for it. It is true that somebody might listen to us speak and say that maybe we are struggling to take us back into primitivity. No, that's not what we are saying. I'm not saying that we need to go back to trade and barter. No, I'm saying that when that happens, the various communities that exist in Africa, for example, in Cameroon, we have food enough because we have volcanic soil. Precisely in the southern Cameroons, we have volcanic soil here. So we have fertile soil. We produce a lot of good food. And that could be, and you'll be surprised to know that it is sold to Nigeria. it is sold to, we sell to almost every CEMAC country. But when there are barriers and borders that actually limit you from going around to sell, it creates a situation where the entire community of Africa does not benefit from what they are supposed to be benefiting from. So, Blandine, for now, I think that is what I could tell you, except there's another question for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. I'll be getting back to you. I just want to talk to Justin and find out what he thinks. Do you have necessary steps, or do you think the necessary steps that could be taken to reintroduce African socialism to the continent? Again, bearing in mind that we're in the 21st century.
Yeah, I think I don't want to digress so much. I think there are two components of thought. When you look at what's happening today, everybody has spoken. Kumo and my other friend who spoke also earlier on. All these concepts that we're having, capitalism, the concept of communism, is brought in by investors because they want to benefit out of Africa. And as we know, Africa, we have our own way of doing things, and we have our own way of increasing our worth. It is our time to look at look at all our way of dealing with our economies within our social living with the people. From what we've learned in the socialism, we have seen that there is a lot of what we call pure collectiveness by governments. There is also totalitarianism, where the regimes are dictatorial, because they are sat in there, they have accumulated all sorts of wealth. And we've seen individual interests coming in through greed, as spoken by Akumo earlier on. And also we've seen the elements of capitalism, where people are amassing a lot. As I said, they come in as investors, eventually they stay on and then displace the owners of the land. And in that they create, it's a deliberate thing. Capitalism, it's creating poverty on the people so that they worship you, which is not what we want in Africa. We've lived very well. I know other people ridiculous. They say you have got so much wealth in Africa, you don't know how to generate wealth and live together. You don't know how to share the wealth, yet you have so much. That's why we, from Western world and European world or Asian world, we come there to collect what you cannot use and share within yourselves. But we have lived in a way of protectionism. We protect our territories. If you look in the villages, their chiefs, you find that also the chiefs, they tend to build the system within the family concept, whereby in my country here, even like Swaziland and other places, you find a clan or a group of a community or a group of a tribe living together. It's not like they're creating tribalism, but they're trying to identify the way of living to share the small wealth they have, wealth in Africa. As the first speaker mentioned on, we grow things. We are an agricultural economy in Africa. We can feed the whole world. And as such, we need to open our markets. It actually pains me to see that an African state has been taken by another state because maybe in Africa we didn't assist each other, for that person to go overboard and get out of Africa to get help, and eventually the country become a poverty-stricken country, is owned by foreigners. In Africa, I think we need to move towards an element where an African should be able to help another African in a socialism concept, which we have. Yes, as we understand the socialism that we've learned, the European way or the Caucasian way, is meant that the government must control because they have brought in things like human rights. They have brought in issues of economic trade, where they control the trade and all that type of thing, that you shouldn't have too much worth, but it must be an equity. But we could bring our own equity easily as we share our worth within our community, by also sharing that beyond the borders. There's no need for us to hate a brother because he had come in to actually develop another place within Africa. As long as we share what knowledge is got. You know, it's all about biblical, where God gave us different type of skills. Others are supposed to be preachers, others are teachers, others are. We need to share that knowledge and then bring Africa out of this poverty. And it's easy because we can easily do it. I look at one thing. If a country amasses billions of money, and then you only, for example, you have, let's put it like 200 billion as a country, and then you have only 7 million people. In an equity world, let's try to put it in a context where you're saying, okay, we want all to look at our people do better. Let's give a billion each in terms of a budget for this person per year. And then let's look at this person, that he has to achieve education, he has to achieve his healthy status, he has to get that's free medical aid, he has to get food, security must be there in a community, he has to be able to be free to travel, and we make roads infrastructure within our communities. We create proper travel systems where the roads are there. We put, like what they've done in Europe. My colleague there mentioned that in Europe, to build Europe, which is very true. Most of those buildings, they've been there for hundreds of years, which were built by our ancestors. What can fail us to do the same in Africa? We don't need to take our friends as slaves, but we need to help one another, build our economies, using our social skills that we learned from our parents, not going back into the old age, but using those skills and building the lab we have within our African context must continue and excel. We don't need, but we can learn from them and make our own economy different and political standing different. I think that's what I can look at. At the social end.
Right, on social, you know, in the context of, you know, panalism, it's kind of like the bane of
the situation we have is to break. We had the colonial masters before. We have broken into our independence now. Most countries, they went through that independence. Maybe they're in the second phase or fourth phase of democracy, which they call democracy. But when you look at the democracy we use, it's not our African context of democracy, because we have bought culture is totally built on a mixed economy. We've used, yes, capitalism in one end or the other. We've also used the socialism on the other side. So I'm saying Africa needs to have its own mixed type of political on the historic approach which we've had. We've lived in a cooperative concept of system. We've also lived in a situation where we are hard workers. Our activities in farming, our activities in the village, where we've also built our own schools and all that type of thing. We need to enhance that. But as you're mentioning, how can we break this thing in Africa? We need to break the borders. That's number one thing. We need to help a friend who is suffering in Zimbabwe, in Zambia, in Cameroon, in Nigeria, any country that feels they're better off. They should be able to flock to the other countries. Let's accept them. These xenophobic issues should go. There are things that we should avoid to have in every African context, because we have learned the love of each other. So in our community, the best we can do is to break the borders. That's number one thing. I've seen already we have ECOWAS, we have SADC regions, the SADC community, and maybe in the north, I don't know what they call it, but if we have these first groupings that we have, already they've signed a treaty which you're talking of the free market trade, which is a very good thing. And Africa can manufacture its own thing. I saw vehicles being manufactured even in Mali itself, even some in Cameroon. Some are being built in Nigeria. Why can't we buy African vehicles from within rather than importing vehicles? So all those that, even machinery that have been made, which we can use in industrialization, which started even in Africa, which started in Egypt itself, and it flopped out. Somebody borrowed the idea and they industrialized the Europe. So the same thing, we can bring it back. We are already industrialized, and the technology-wise, we're even advanced. So we need to break the borders. That's number one thing we need to do as Pan-African. And we need to make our leaders understand that they can be there as chiefs of various countries, yes, but our activities must be brought into a uniform concept. I know we might be coming from different angles in terms of behavior, but as Africans, we behave the same. We are a social entity. We believe in socialization, and we believe in smiling to one another. That's our life, and we show people the reality of who we are. When we're angry, we show we are angry. When we love, we know we show we love. In every continent of Africa I've seen, I've traveled in a number of countries. I've seen the similar things. So to me, Africa is one. So we can do it by breaking the borders, no visas. Let's have a free trade. Let's manage to sell our items that we might have so much that we can sell to others. Let's not allow any country to go hungry, somebody to suffer within the borders. Why should one borderline, on the other corner, they are very happy enjoying themselves, and on the other side, people are suffering? Why do we allow that? Our leaders need to understand and start loving one another, and also sharing ideas on how best we can help each other. That's the way I'm looking at how we can break and improve this Pan-Africanism.
Right. Thank you so very much, Justin. That was really, really deep. Before we get to the closing remark or to our last panelist, I would like to give a few minutes to Kwadwo, who has been fidgeting ever since requesting, to contribute something. Kwadwo, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Thank you very much. I think today has been very exciting, and I am very grateful to those who have already spoken. I am particularly delightful from what Justin just said, that yes, we can have leadership from our different perspective of different countries, but they all need to work collectively towards one goal. This it really touches me, and I think that we having such minds in this foundation organization, then we have a very long way to go. We can count on their deep knowledge to be able to help build this community and make it more impactful. Yes, generally, I think that if indeed Africa will have a way, or will be able to do something, then we need to go back and to start to have our own ideologies and concepts. Fine, we talk about socialism, we talk about capitalism, we talk about everything. These are concepts to some extent which were borrowed from the African soil. and then manipulated and converted to what belonged to someone else. But if indeed we want to use it for our advantage or for our own, then I think it is time for us to define this concept within our own context and be able to use this concept the way it functions well in the African society. I don't think that if we pick socialism from how it is today, because the socialism concept today in Europe, which is very common, all boils down to feeding Europe, everybody, they are feeding everybody. And how are they feeding everybody? They are feeding everybody by feeding on Africa. So if indeed we want to find a way to do our own socialism, then we need to think about how our socialism is going to work, because we are not going to find a second or third party to feed on for Europeans to come and feed on us. So how can we at least work on our socialism concept for it to work? I think one of the foundation is to first deprive anybody from feeding us. We cannot, we have been fed on for too long, for 400, 600 years in slavery. And today they have created a system where our own people have become agents and they are giving our whatever supposed to feed the African or our society to feed these people. To me, it is important that we find a way to get that off. And when we are able to cut that blood flow from Africa to Europe and to the rest of the world, then we will be able to feed the African much more better way. I think that this is what we are doing, and this is what we have been doing all along in this community. What I would say is that we have an ideology, like perfect ideologies from all of us, and that means that all that we need is to have the numbers which we need to work on, every one of us, because these are very fine-tuned ideas. If we are able to bring ourselves together, bring more people on board, over time, we will be able to become a very bulk foundation that nobody can break us, not even government. So I think that with this ideology, with our commitment, and also with our own support, each and every one, whatever we can offer as a support, then we are far away to go and make the needed changes. Africa is crying, everybody is crying, and it's time for us to work. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm very grateful.
Thank you very much, Quadro, for your contribution. And I'm also going to go down to Trinidad and Tobago. Kennedy, are you there?
I am here, I'm here.
Yeah, we didn't have you. We didn't hear your voice. The last time we were on. So, what is socialism according to the African context?
Interestingly, Drinker, I am a student at the feet of these gentlemen. So I am really learning. Honestly, I am not very familiar with the concept. I heard all of what was said, and I can internalize it, but I really do not think I have the expertise to, so I'm really learning. That's why I asked Prof the question last week. All right, so I'm a student here today.
Okay, I do respect that. So I'm gonna get back to Prof. We have barely 15 minutes to go, and Prof, this is the point where, having heard everything that everyone has said from what definition of socialism, from the differentiation between socialism and communism. Now, in light of Fremov and Africa in general, please mash this up and give it to us. Prof, are you there?
I am there. I was thinking that Pharaoh wanted to say something because I saw him coming up close to the mic, so I was waiting to hear him talk. But since you asked me the question, I would like to go by saying that you see, one of the reasons why this platform, Pan-African Freedom Movement, or PAFREMO, was actually created with a desire to see into it that African people can be in control of Africa. And if you discover, there are some of the saints who always say that Africa for Africans. We are not saying that we are intending to drive away people out of the nation out of the continent of Africa. We don't have any intention. The Arabians are already up there in the north, and they are part of the parcel of Africa. Like I cited here on Saturday, Gaddafi was more an African than most of the leaders we have today in power. And like Pharaoh actually cited that he is one of those who did everything possible to see Africa united and to see Africa become that United States that he actually was dreaming of. And I believe that this platform was created not just because we want to be discussing, not just because we want to be having an opportunity to talk to one another and stream ourselves through Facebook Live. The main purpose for the creation of these was so that we could get to the place where we make Africa become the dream of our fathers, where we are able to work as one people to realize our great dreams. And you see, one of the dreams that we have to actually realize is to make sure that we are able to feed Africans where there is no poverty in Africa. And to be able to reach there, we have great projects to be able to reach there, because I'll be sincere with you. It is not easy to say you are feeding the whole of Africa. Africa, first of all, is not poor. Like Pharaoh rightly said, poverty in relation to the declarations of Nelson Mandela, poverty is man-made. It's not something that actually exists. Economists have created concepts that actually have made the African people to feel like they are nobodies. They created a concept of scarcity. There is no scarcity anywhere. There's only abundance. In Africa, we have everything we need. Look critically, you'll discover that we have everything we need in Africa. Like I was citing last time, I quoted to us Africans that look at things categorically. You will discover that we have a land surface of over we have a land surface that beats the entire United States 3 times. It beats the entire China 3 times. It beats the entire Europe 3 times. Meaning that if you take Europe, you take China, and you take the United States and feed in Africa, all these 3 continents will feed in Africa, implying that the continent of Africa is the largest continent in the entire world, with over 60% arable land, implying we have land that has not been touched, it's not been cultivated. And as I said last time, this particular land can feed over 9 billion people. And so far, the world is still made up of about 7.2 billion people. And if you can understand that, you realize that we have a lot to do. So I know for a long period of time, they have been giving us a reduced scale of our map to make us believe that Africa is one of the most poorest in the world. But I want you to understand, we are not poor. We have everything we need. Africa is the richest continent in the world. I mean, in mineral resources. So if we want to talk of redistribution, then Africa will become the richest in the entire world. So these greedy people, they have come into Africa and they are doing everything to offset Africa and get what Africans actually need. If you look at it critically, presently as we are talking in Mali, there is a coup d'etat that is taking place in Mali today. But what is actually happening is, if you look, the French are in Africa struggling to divide us. They have come into Mali and they are actually supporting the rebels in the north, against the state government. But in Cameroon, they have created another situation where in Cameroon, a group of people want to separate from the entire nation. So the Southern Cameroons want to separate from the entire nation of Cameroon, all due to the influence of France. And as a result of that, they create this instability while we are hitting our heads and fighting one another. They get in and collect the wealth that we have. But if this wealth is equally divided, if we own our continent, we own it and we run it, we can equally divide these resources to our people and we'll live a life of prosperity, one another. There will be no poor person amidst us. So those are some of the things that we must see. So as I said earlier, Pan-African Freedom Movement was not created as a political organization, but it was created with a social understanding that we as a collective group of persons, we could influence issues on African soil and be able to feed our people. And that's why we set projects on farm projects, which we've already started one. We have a farm project with over 10 hectares already in Cameroon that we are working on. And apart from that, we are seeing that we want to enter into every African nation, because when we complete with the one in Cameroon, which is like a pilot project, want to shift to Nigeria, want to get into Ghana, want to go to South Africa, want to go to Mali, want to go to Malawi, want to go to Zambia, want to go to Djibouti, want to go to Ethiopia, want to make sure that at the end of the day, we are able to plant these particular projects in every nation in Africa. And when you look critically, there is something that is happening right now. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area was launched yesterday.
We break the barriers, how we can operate and how we can integrate. It's very simple. I remember when I first moved into the United Kingdom, then we're segregated. I think don't tell her she's on the platform tonight, so she'll understand. She was born in this country. I wasn't. It was a really segregated kind of organization or class or so the blacks in this country, predominantly the Jamaicans, they never could mix with the Africans. So we used to go to a Jamaica. There was this Jamaican nightclub, and then there was an African nightclub. So we go to an African nightclub, we eat the meat, and then maybe you go to a Jamaican nightclub if you fancy chasing a Jamaican. It was really like forbidden back then. It was like, I'm talking about 2004, 2005, 15, 16 years ago. Okay, what happened? So these are things I talk to Africans. Look at your milestones. Look at your achievements. I listened to Professor Lumumba the other day. I like him. I like his work. Don't quote me wrong. He spends most of his time criticizing us, criticizing Africans. We're poor because we haven't done this. We're poor because we. I was just wondering, Professor Lumumba can at least sometimes 5 minutes talk about the milestone and talk about the milestone. Okay, like say I come from Cameroon, someone comes from Mali, someone comes from Ivory Coast, someone comes from Niger, Gabon, Equatorial Guinea, Chad, Central African Republic. We've been marginalized by France. Look at the French Creation Agreement in 1959. It's telling us France has to, if you at 3 to 6, it's telling us France to take over our infrastructure. France has to take over our education. So France actually gives a curriculum for Cameroon to follow. No doubt I studied Louis XIV, Louis XV, Louis XVI, or the March of the Storm of the Bastille, some useless, rubbish and idiotic European history, 1778 French Revolution, some nonsense like that. So come back, we are breaking the barriers that this forum prof brought me on. Prior to that, I had my emancipation of Africans. They got black people from Guyana, Trinidad, Tobago, Haiti, Jamaica, black Americans, black British. That's how they call us. They call us here Afro-Caribbeans. So we're breaking the barriers. Sometimes we Africans, that's the best way we can go about it. That's how Europeans, the so-called civilized Europe, they talk about, yeah, my objective, which like I would say is very, very simple. I don't want to create anything so big. There will be a conscious brother in Nigeria. There's another conscious one in Kenya. There's one in Ghana. There's one in Haiti. It's to the black population in Haiti. Then this black conscious brother is talking to the black population or the African population in Ghana. And then another one is talking in Mali. Now, that's not how Europe attained its civilization. That is not how Europe attained the prowess they entered. What they did, they harmonized their knowledge. They put all of that knowledge in a panel. There was a strong scientist or a voodoo priest. That's how their Freemasonry was born, where they brought all the voodoo priests or people that had extra powers. And then they had the magic circle. There's the magic circle. There's a Rosicrucian order. So they brought all these things, and then which absolutely actually operate on African philosophy.
So
we understand. Anyone here, members here that belong to the craft, they will know what I'm talking about. They give you a password, they give you certain words to recite for your incantations, and they tell you these powers came from Solomon's temple, this power came from one French man, and then you have to recite the African language.
Okay, thank you very
That's the bit we don't understand.
for-
So I want my people to think. We're just saying we have to smash the barriers.
We have another panelist.
We
have a
congregate.
panelist that,
We come together. We Africans, we enjoy that already. We need to harmonize that. If I'm in Nairobi airport now, and then I just speak to one, two guys, then they will take me into their house, and then we stay there. That is what we need to project.
Okay, thank
We
you
come together.
much,
No point
Thank
having
you,
somebody
Pharaoh.
very
We are
sensible somewhere.
getting,
We bring
out
all
of
the
time,
African
Pharaoh. Thank you
eggheads.
so
We
much
bring the black eggheads together.
for your
Is
contribution.
how we can achieve something.
Prof, can you mute him so far?
That is the biggest achievement.
Right. Thank
Let's
you very much,
leave
Pharaoh, for
any
your
stone
contribution.
unturned.
Hello, Pharaoh, you're
We
not listening.
go into our community, we go into our region, we go into Africa, we pick all the intellectuals, we pick all the people pregnant with the knowledge needed to drive Africa forward, and then we group them together, and then it becomes that bomb, and then we can dispense knowledge that Africa will thrive. If one person, somebody talks in Botswana, somebody talks in Botswana, they don't have that support. It ain't there. Then hello?
Keeping on talking and
right. Prof.
Sorry?
You were saying something. Prof, are you there? Please unmute your
Well,
mic.
if I still just need to.
No, you don't.
Okay,
you don't
sure.
have the floor. We have Prof who has the floor at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I see Pharaoh was actually on fire to express his ideas, and though his phone, his camera was not on for us to see him and know what he was doing behind. So anyway, as I was concluding, I said something before my connection got to start disturbing me. I was saying that the Pan-African Freedom Movement, coupled United Africa for free economic freedom, was created as a platform through which we could actually encourage young Africans to become innovative, industrial, in order for us to be able to take back our continent and be able to invest in it, and to be able to make sure we run our destinies, we take care of our destinies, because for a long period of time, our destinies have been run by foreigners. We've not been running our destinies. We have not been taking care of ourselves. We've been dictated upon. We have been oppressed upon. But that is not why we are here. We are here because we believe that we can work together to reach a milestone for Africa. And before my mic went off, I said, if you look at what happened yesterday and the launching of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which actually will go operational in December of this same month, because normally it was supposed to go running by July. Due to the coronavirus, it has been pushed to December, but the headquarters was established yesterday, and Ghana did its best to meet up with the demands that was placed upon them some years back. That is a great milestone ahead that we have been able to achieve. And I'll be sincere to make you understand that with these farms that we are opening in Africa right now, it will permit us with this free trade to be able to sell across Africa and to be able to make sure that our African people are fed cheap. Will not need to import anything from Europe or from China or from Thailand or from wheresoever, because we'll be able to create ours. I was saying something. We have a lot here in Africa that if we invest, it will give us much. So I want to say, if you are on this particular show and you didn't know anything about the Pan-African Freedom Movement, I would like you to just visit our website, which is www.pafremo.org. That's www.pafrevo, Pafremov, M-O-V, I beg your pardon. That is it on the screen. I see the down T says she wants to say something. She has something to say. So I'll give the opportunity back to Blandine soon, and she'll be able to talk. So as I said, Pan-African Freedom Movement is a platform through which we could reach our continent and attain the goal of uniting Africa. And it begins with us. And when we have the masses, we can make a great difference. When we have the masses, we can make a great difference. So we are calling on every individual participating right now on this particular show to make sure we go to that website and click on the membership on the menu to actually register to become members. And apart from that, we are calling you to invite friends to join us on the platform so that we can move ahead. The dream is big and great, and we are so far a step ahead. We have made some strides, and we believe that with everybody working together, we can do greater and wonderful. So I might want to give the opportunity back to the stage back to Blandine here, but I'll have something to say before we close the day. Thank you.
Right, we'll get back to you, Prof, before we get off completely, but we have Don T, who has something to say, and it's only fair that she's joining us for the very first time. It would be a pleasure for us to hear what you have to say. Miss, can you go ahead?
Thank you very much. Good evening, family, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. It's been very informative. My first time here. I've enjoyed the talk immensely from what I could pick up, because I was doing other things at the time. I'd also like to introduce you to a similar platform that I'm engaged with with Auntie Jean. I'm hoping she's also online.
Yes.
And she can
Online.
interject. Auntie Jean?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Hi, greetings, everyone. I suppose to put my light on so you can see what I look like. Hi, I'm Auntie Jean of Auntie Jean's African Culture Market. Let me turn this radio down a little bit. Of Auntie Jean's African Culture Market. It's a physical market, but because of the COVID, we're doing via Zoom now. So actually we'll be able to reaching more people. It's a market, not just a market. We have speakers that talk about different topics from fitness, health, spirituality, history, you name it, nutrition, we talk about it. And also from the African Culture Market has arrived the Garvey Village, which we're putting together as a community centre with a difference being that it's going to be a base for natural healers, a base for homeschooling and Saturday school, after school, training programs for the youths and the children from leaving school and youths leaving prison, social groups for the elders and for the young, and also entertainment for, you know, acting and drama, spoken word and all of that. And that is derived from the African Culture Market, from the people who's made presentations, because there's a platform for people to promote their businesses, to promote their services, as well as give information about what's going on in the community. So what Dawn is talking about is every Friday for the Garvey Village, we have a platform between 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock where people come and speak about keeping healthy. Because of this time, the actual title is Unlock the Chains and Keep Well, Remedies and Keys. So people who come and do a talk give remedies and keys how to keep well and basically on what's going on. And the African Culture Market, the Zoom, is every first and third Sunday of the month, the same time, 7 o'clock till 10 o'clock. And that's where people come together. We call it the African Culture Market because us, as from the Caribbean, we've lost our culture from the African continent. So basically it's trying to claw back and get back the culture that we have actually lost. So we start off with libation. We have a priest who does libation, and you know, and people come in and basically show us and teach us what we've lost. Okay. So that is what the African Culture Market is basically all about in a nutshell.
That's beautiful.
Yes, and I think I'd like to add, we'd like to team up with you as well, because there's a lot that we can learn from each other, and you know, we need to build brick by brick, if you know, because that's the situation that we're faced with. We're having to build from scratch, brick by brick. Okay.
That's
so
thank you so much,
if we can have permission to post the information, the Zoom information, with your consent, that would be great. And we'll also like to give our group your information so they can join in on your chat, you know, every Tuesday, if that's okay.
That's perfect. That's going to be amazing, actually. Prof.
Yes.
Do your thing. You're gonna. You know
okay,
what I mean? You're going to connect with.
I'm so blessed to be able to know that Auntie Jane and Dante are actually having a great project over there in the Caribbean that actually is permitting a lot of blacks over there to learn about the African culture.
No, the project,
we're actually in
projects
London.
are in Africa. We also have projects in Africa, Gambia, Ghana, a place called Tamale, where we've built a micro village where we won't charge for you to stay there, but people can go for spiritual healing.
Wow,
so
I want to go.
You'd love it. You'd love it. And we've got the Fire Festival coming up shortly.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying we need to team up, so that we can exchange information and, you know, keep everybody abreast of what's going on with everything.
Okay.
There's no subject we do not cover, And the floor is open to any spokesperson who want to speak on any subject.
Wow, that's
Okay.
beautiful. We like
John,
that.
can you send me a contact so much, like private contacts, and then
Your
I'll get
WhatsApp,
to you.
just
Yes, I'll put some contact details
the
in
WhatsApp.
the link, and Auntie
Yeah,
Jane will put some in
WhatsApp
also.
details, and then we'll
Okay.
get to you, and then
It
we'll
would
find
best.
a way.
Okay. Can we just get to understand? I'm so blessed, as I said, to get to know that Auntie Jane and Downty are actually having this great project. And like you actually requested, it's good for us to actually team up, because I believe that working together is, let me use the word Africans, because I don't believe that there is any other.
Africans.
Unity
Yes,
strength.
we are
Unity strength.
Africans. We are Africans
We are
everywhere.
Africans.
Yes, as long
We're
as
not
we are black, we are
Caribbean. We're
Africans.
not Black
African.
British. We're not black.
Yeah.
We're not. You know, we're none of those labels
So
that they've given us, because that's what they're good at. They're very good at giving, renaming and giving labels, and it's time enough we,
strip them off.
you know, create our own
We're
identity.
Africans born in a different country, but we're still African.
Africans
That's what I
either way.
like. That's what I was saying. That as long as you're
How's the story
Africans,
go? Yeah.
as long as you're Africans,
Who said
we have to
that
work.
if you're a rabbit and you're born in an oven, you're not a biscuit? Who said that? Even if you're born in an oven and you're a rabbit, you're not a biscuit. I think that's Dr. Ben.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
All right.
So, we are here presently. We are going to share some of. I'm going to ask Blandine, who is the host, to actually share.
I just sent you my number.
Okay.
Because we're going to go off.
You're going to
Yeah,
get.
I've got to try and save the chat. If you explain to everybody how to save the chat, you go onto File, bottom right-hand corner, and then you should be able to save it somewhere, all the information.
Okay, but I just sent you my number either ways. So that that's my WhatsApp number.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could send me a message, and then we'll kick it from there. Is that okay?
No, it's excellent. That's brilliant. So is there anything else, Auntie Jean, you wanted to add? Can we put the contact details in there in the chat? We haven't worked out how to do it, you see.
Yeah, we'd love
we have to email it to you, and then you can share it in the group.
Okay, that's no problem.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just putting
I'll put my number in. I'll put my number in, and I don't know if Auntie Jean wants to put hers.
Yeah, I'm just putting mine in now. I'm putting my email address. I put the telephone number, and I also put the Garvey Village website on.
Okay. So we're all waiting for.
I was going to say, also, if you go to YouTube, Auntie Jean's Zone, you will see some footage of what we've done on the Zooms. So I'll also put that in so you can catch up and actually see some of the talks that we've had people come in and do throughout these months of COVID.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for reaching out, and thank you for also giving us the opportunity to, merge, to come together. Like you said, unity is power, and we're definitely going to keep in touch. Donty, she's also sent her number as well. So, if you are seeing the number, you can get it done, and then you keep in touch with her. I'm like, I need to go to this village because there's a lot of healing need to do. But yeah, until then, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you to all our panelists.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us. Sincerely.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And we'll be in touch.
Thank you very much.
All right, I've put my email in, and Auntie Jean's put some email in
I've just
and the
put
YouTube.
mine in.
All right. Thank you again.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you. Thank you everyone, and good night. Have a wonderful wonderful night. For those of you who are stepping out into the day, have a wonderful day. And up until Thursday, God bless you.
Give thanks.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers, man.
Bye, Kennedy.
Thank you. Bye.